Hey everyone, Hermit here, and welcome back to the Tabletop Solo. Today we're going to be talking about a solo staple, GM emulators. Now, what is a GM emulator? Well, to answer that, we're going to need to know what exactly the role of a GM is. Story elements aside, you can boil down a GM's role to telling the players yes or no. Yes, you can try to pick that lock. No, that chasm is too wide to jump across. A simple yes or no can define quite a bit about the worlds we play in. So, simply put, a GM emulator is a supplementary system that can approximate that role, to answer those questions and to define those worlds. These systems usually consist of tables to roll on and mechanics to keep the story moving forward. Two very popular GM emulators we'll be covering are the Conjectural Roleplay GM emulator, or the CRGE, and my personal favorite, the Mythic GM emulator. Both of these systems could be videos unto themselves, but I'll briefly go over both of them and touch upon their mechanics. Developed by Zach Best, the CRGE system makes use of a primary mechanic called the Loom of Fate. This consists of several D100 yes or no tables that the player rolls on to determine answers about the world they're playing in. The outcome for what you roll can vary quite a bit depending on what stage your story is in. Now, in the Loom of Fate, there are three main tables you roll on, depending on where you're at in your story. These tables help tie in all those narrative threads you create throughout your adventure and lead to something more cohesive. The To Knowledge table is rolled on towards the start of your adventure. The focus of this table is more towards gathering info and materializing the world you're playing in. The To Conflict table is used once the main details of the thread are known, and it pushes the story forward. It's advised not to shy away from asking questions that may cause problems. Conflict, after all, is very good narrative fuel. And finally, the Endings table. You should roll sparingly on this one because the goal of this stage of play is to move towards a resolution. An additional role you can incorporate to the CRG system is called the Surge Count. The Surge Count can be used to move the game in unexpected ways. Basically, whenever you roll a plain yes or no on the Loom of Fate, you mark 2 either on dice or writing it down. This is the surge count. The next time you ask a Loom of Fate question, you can either subtract the surge count if the roll is 50 or lower, or you can add it if the roll is above 50. If the result is anything other than a plain yes or no, you reset the count. If it is a yes or no, you add another +2 to the surge count, leading the rolls that could be very different from what you expect. The other system we'll be talking about in this video is the second edition of the Mythic GM emulator by Tanya Pigeon. Now, the Mythic emulator is something I could devote a very, very lengthy video to discussing, and maybe I will if there's interest from either your side or mine. But in the interest of brevity, I'll highlight the main mechanics of the system, the fate chart and the chaos factor. The fate chart is very similar to the Loom of Fate from CRGE. It's basically a yes or no table you roll on with a D100, but you first set the odds ranging from certain, 50-50, to impossible, with some in between. These odds determine how likely it is you'll get a yes answer, and then you roll for that answer. Now, to further throw a wrench into the system, let's talk about the chaos factor. The chaos factor is a value ranging from 1 to 9 that's tracked throughout the adventure, and it represents the level of control that the character has over the events of the story. With each new scene that plays out, you either increase or lower the chaos factor based on how out of control the scene gets. And basically, the higher the chaos factor is, the more likely you'll get a yes answer. Now, each system has a bit more depth to it, so I suggest you guys check out both. The PDFs for them are available at DriveThruRPG for pretty reasonable prices. Thank you so much guys for sticking with me for this video, and I hope you walk away with a better understanding of GM emulators and how you can use them for your solo play. If you enjoyed this content, consider giving me a like, subscribe, or even a follow on Twitter. And as always, May all your adventures, whether shared or solo, be epic.